Chloe, I see you sipping on a drink. What are we drinking today?
So, in honor of National Espresso Martini Day, seems fitting to be doing the classic espresso martini. Mine is obviously a mocktail version, so basically it's cold brew and iced coffee. And then Grace is the good old traditional vodka, Kahlua.
I would like to think that we like really planned it that way.
I swear, like, we already had it on the agenda.
We already had it on the agenda to do like espresso martinis. And then Chloe informed me that it's actually National Espresso Martini Day. So yes, I'm drinking a real one, and then Chloe is drinking a mocktail because why?
I'm pregnant.
Chloe's pregnant, so we always like to start the show off with that because even though she's not showing right now, she eventually will, and we're still gonna have her mocktails in like a glass, just so it's cute. So we just want to always make sure always have this disclaimer that she is always drinking a mocktail until
Further notice.
till further notice.
September.
Till about September. So I had to take my first sip.
We gotta figure out a way to get it around the cords better, but things we'll learn along the way.
You know, what we're going to talk about today is one of the many reasons why I always wanted a podcast because this
That's a thought on that system.
so this I don't plan to have our podcast be like topical moments or pop culture necessarily.
Or anything that's like relevant, because we hate podcasts that are like, oh, they're covering that and like it's a week old, or like, you know what I mean, like old news, or then it's like always changing and you're never completely up to date.
Wait, just like I feel like there is
And our recording schedule is going to be very like all over the place, so we're not like super strict on anything. This is just stuff like
ultimately like a lot of commentary, pop culture, YouTubers and like podcasts, and that's not something like we're trying to infiltrate unless it hits our specific niche and our specific interests. And today's topic is not only very relevant and very like hot topic, very pop culture heavy. It also is something very near and dear to both of our hearts, especially mine. And it also conveniently trailblazes two documentaries that came out about it recently. So as you can guess by both the title and what I'm alluding to, today we're going to be talking about America's Next Top Model. And not just America's Next Top Model as...
And we're not even just talking about the new documentary, but because it did come out and a lot of like, you know, gray area, kind of like, ooh, like, yeah, that didn't age well type stuff. Is that going on now?
I just feel like the people who, both in like the documentary, not the Netflix one, but the one on E that just came out. I just finished watching both episodes yesterday. I feel like a lot of commentary is coming from people who were not there watching it in the early aughts.
Or the E one or like the Netflix one, or both?
I mean, I'm both, but like especially the E one, but just like online as a whole, I feel like a lot of people,
Like it's like maybe people that are like they maybe that like didn't grow up with
right,
a way to lead it,
like they've watched it,
like just watching it with fresh eyes.
they're watching it with fresh eyes, and
The whole thing was like in 2020, everyone started watching it because it was like put on. Was it put on Netflix?
It was put on Hulu. It was also on Prime. So like obviously
And a resurgence.
it had a resurgence. So I feel like, you know, this feedback is coming from, and I've had discussions about this, but it's, you know, people who are equally as woke. Like I feel like I'm woke about the situation, and I have a lot of like eye-opening moments about this show. But I also wanted to maybe give an insight or my 2 cents about someone who not only did Chloe and I grow up with this show, but this show was like such a pivotal part of like growing up.
Especially as like a girl in your teen.
Well, it just like shaped a lot of like personal interests for me, good and bad. It's a comfort show for me, specifically seasons 1 through 3, 4 and 5. And 4, 5, 6 I do like, but I like even like up until like last year, like if I wanted just something to have on the background, like it's usually seasons 1 through 3, like that are near and dear to my heart. And I feel like, especially the first documentary, heavily featured contestants from seasons 1 through 3 and 4. So I feel like I was a little bit more in tune to like hearing the background. And I just want to say this, that this is 100% of our opinions on everything. I want to give the show its flowers before we tear it down because there is rightful criticism to this show and what this show not only did to the contestants but the viewers. And I think both documentaries really didn't talk enough about America's Next Top Model as a whole and how it impacted culture. Like I was very interested in listening to like what the contestants said, but like for example, what like kind of irked me about the fucking E special was very open to hearing the contestants, of course, but it was a lot of one. They had fucking Perez Hilton. They had
It was like been damaging, like
who has been very volatile
he's ruined so many people's like career.
Brady Spears, like I'm sorry, like
Evil person.
he's like and it's like very living glass houses type situation. I'm like, because I feel like the E was very heavy on hating Tyra and how she's a psychopath basically.
Almost like they like so was it produced after the Netflix one? Because I'm wondering if they like saw like, oh yeah, like let's get on this hate dial.
From what I hear, it's filmed a year ago.
Okay, so it was all kind of like. I just want to say something quickly about it. The only thing that irked me about Tyra and the whole premise of the show was the whole point, and she said it herself, was to show modeling in a different light because the modeling industry was so much set in certain ways. Like it was, rail thin women. It was mostly white women. Even herself saying that as a Black woman, she didn't have certain opportunities and whatever have you. So it's almost like, then why on your show where you could control everything, did you just kind of fall back into the trap of like, oh, well, like fix your gap or like, shave your head or whatever it was. But it's like, it just makes me laugh because I'm like, wait a minute, you were trying to break the boundaries. I'm a trailblazer in this. And it's like, you literally fell into the trap of like what it was. And I would respect her more if she was like, listen, it's hard to break the cycle of like the modeling industry because you know what it is, what it is. Like, that's just how it is. I didn't create it. I've had success from it. This is how it's always been. We're hoping to always do better and improve. But instead, she kind of like doubled down and was like, I don't know, she never really took accountability. And it's like, but the whole point of the show was to show in a different light and to give women who wouldn't have had those experiences the chance to be able to do modeling and whatever have you. And then you kind of when you became the people that you said you didn't want to be like. It was just weird to me.
Yeah, so I guess just to jump into it. So I like I said, I want to give it its flowers because I think especially in the E documentary and even like the Netflix documentary, they gave her flowers. And I will say, of course, being like millennials, even me, maybe on the cusp of like a Gen Z, like 1995, late 1995. We did grow up with Tyra, not just in America's Next Top Model, but like she was in like Life Size. She was very much in.
She had her own TV show.
She was.
She was just like everywhere. I think she like I mean, I don't know if this came later, but like, didn't she host like a lot too? Like,
yeah, she was always like at
He's Got a Talent, or she was just like trying to think of like who she was like.
Because her biggest like modeling heyday was like early 90s, early to mid 90s. So we weren't like a lot.
Victoria's Secret. So that's a lot of it as well. Like you get the catalogs. My mom would get the catalogs, and
but
we all
feel like for us specifically, Tyra Banks in our zeitgeist was more of like this kind of actress. Like we knew she was a model, but like we knew her more as like this actress and just personality. Like you knew Tyra Banks because she was a personality more than we like grew up with her like doing runway, even though that was a big part of it. So like she was already in that like transition in the late 90s, early 2000s. She was even in like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So and then she did Life Size with Lindsay Lohan. So like, so I just want to give the show its flowers and then we can really go in. And the E documentary, again, what like annoyed me was it was all negative. It was all negative. And I'm not saying that it's all valid, but again, when you know people like Perez Hilton and like Janice Dickinson,
give me their excuse.
Anyway, so we'll get into that. But first off, I will say whether it was genuine or misguided or used, I will say that there was some sort of inclusion on America's Next Top Model. Like, very first season, we had a lesbian Black woman, and she was in both documentaries as well, Ebony. And that was the first time, and not even just with Ebony, but like then you had like Miss J and J Manuel. And this was like the first time I remember really seeing, gay people not as like characters, like in like Mean Girls or something like that. And even in the season with like Ebony, they showed her with her girlfriend, and it was just play off as normal. Of course, at the time, from what Ebony has said, she wasn't like planning on like announcing that, and it was more like thrust upon her. So like that is kind of like the sad part of it. But to really have that on primetime television and it like seemingly feeling normal, I think was a plus. I mean, they did have girls like of a lot of ethnicities. Again, Tyra goes, I fought for that. I fought for that. I mean, it's like, okay, well, Tyra, here are your flowers. It's about like fighting for it. It still was more than other shows of the time were doing.
I don't know why they didn't ask her, like, you being a Black lesbian, are you comfortable with sharing that side of you on the show? Like, why was it even relevant? It's not like everyone else had their spouses come on to it. It's almost like, what was the point of like bringing it up? Unless the woman's like, I want to show my sexuality. It's important for me that people know who I am. But the fact that she didn't want that, why was it, like you said, thrust upon her?
Well,
and why did they just be like, would you, like, if it gets brought up, are you comfortable people knowing that you're...
Well, and there is like during her audition, and this is like the biggest thing about the whole show. There's a power imbalance. And, she put it on a questionnaire, was saying like, I wasn't really out to anyone, but I put it in the thing because whatever, I didn't think it was, and especially season one, like
It's interesting they would have even asked.
but they did. So Tyra,
They'd be like, are you in a relationship?
well, Tyra had said, asked her, she's like, how do you feel about, being a lesbian and being on the show? And, Ebony saying like, oh yeah, that's fine, that's great. But the thing is like, what is she supposed to say? You're trying to say what you can to get on the show. So if she was like, I'm not comfortable with that, or showed any kind of like,
Lost your chances.
exactly.
Show.
And I think even, thinking like, this is what makes me different.
Just be like, or just say like, a lot of people in my life don't know. I don't know how I feel about exploring that, but I'm not closed to it. But again, like I think with Tyra Banks is in front of you, and
it's like a job interview.
Yeah, so it's like you just want to say all the right things, and
you don't
hindsight, you might be like, oh man, like I really wish I would have handled that differently.
right.
And she was probably what, 20 something?
Yeah, like all these girls like from 18 to like 26. I will say like the flowers on that. I will say for me watching the show, I crave this show almost like Vogue televised. Like it was my first introduction to like fashion and makeup and like seeing glamorous shots and photography. Like
I've always loved like behind the scenes type shows. Like I always remember that, like, what was that show where like the guy would go to like Candy Factory,
Unwrapped.
I always loved shows like that like, this is how it's done behind the scenes. And I think that's what made it so interesting, is like seeing like what that life is like even though the photo shoots were very like dramatized and over.
I will say again, the first,
I don't know, I found them interesting. The ones that were very controversial.
The first 2 seasons, maybe a little bit of a third, they really were like what I would think are like actual portfolio type of photos, because they would have like swimsuits, they would have lingerie, they would have like stuff with jewelry, stuff, like things like I would see printed in ads. But obviously the more ridiculous the show would come on, it's like you're like in well, you're like in cartoon characters, like you're like cosplaying almost. And that's when I personally really stopped watching the show, even at the time. But like having that like creativity, there was a point where like I wanted to be a model, but then like I stopped growing after 5'3". So did I ever tell you this? So back like when I first had a Twitter, like I think I was like in high school, it was a little bit of the Wild West, and I feel like it wasn't as PR-ish, I would say. And I remember tweeting Tyra Banks herself. I think I made a joke like something about you want to be on top or whatever. She followed me.
Really?
She, like, I was already following her. She followed me, and I wish I can find the screenshot because I was trying to show someone this. She followed me, and I swear to God, I thought I was going to get discovered. I like was posting photos. Like she probably followed.
How did I not know this?
So like, and that's the thing. Like back in the day, like celebrities or brands would just like follow a bunch of people, and then you look at their follower list, and it's like 20,000. You know, they're just
Billion.
you know they're just doing so like after
They, oh, it's almost like anyone that like shouted them out at the time, they were just like,
no, it's kind of like the Twitter or like I feel like early social media culture of like you get a follow back because it's like oh cool thing, this is what you do. So I then started posting on Instagram and Tumblr and places like that. I would do like these little photo shoots, and it was so I could post it on Twitter and like
secret language of grace.
and like trying to see if I would get discovered by Tyra Banks. So and here you are, and here I am, undiscovered and still 5'3". The biggest criticism people like to say, and I both agree with them and disagree with them. I heard a lot of people, their whole thing is just like they're sick of hearing, especially Gen Zs, they're sick of hearing it was a different time. And the thing is, it really was. It was a different time, and it's not saying that it's right or it's right or okay, but like you have to understand that certain things were normalized. Like things that weren't normalized, obviously, was like the things about like the blackface and like they switched ethnicities. Obviously, talking about like body weight and like fat shaming and stuff. Like obviously, that was never right and wasn't right then. That's why it kind of made for good TV. It's like to talk.
Can I just say something about the ethnicity thing since you brought it up? I hope I don't get criticism for this, but I know that like if a white person were to do blackface and vice versa, it is kind of like controversial. But if it was for a purpose like a photo shoot and everybody was doing different ethnicities, like not one, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to be Africans today or we're going to be Asians today. It was like everybody got like a different race. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. I thought it was like interesting.
Any kind of like blackface, yellow, any kind of like race like that is like wrong. But I think it's because look at like Tyra and Naomi, for example, like there can only be one black model, there can only be one Asian model, but then there's a million like white models. So it's like in these spaces where like the casting director or like the photo shoot is requiring a black model, why are we going to like? I mean, even like the
No, I get that. I get like for example, like in movies nowadays, like if there's a gay character or a trans character, it's like maybe give the opportunity to someone who is actually that. Or like in Yellowstone, like everyone thought that one of the characters was Native American and she wasn't. It's like, well, why didn't you give that to a Native American character? I'm just saying, if across the board everybody had to do the task and everybody had a chance to like be a different ethnicity for creativity purposes, it wasn't like a malicious thing. It wasn't like, oh, we need a black model, but we don't want to find one, or we don't think one's good enough, so we're going to use this woman and make it.
I think ultimately,
You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, and they kind of touched on this a little bit in the documentary. Was I think it's again, it goes to these photo shoots that they were doing aren't reflective of like the real world, and they were created scenarios to create drama and create these things.
Like they did it knowing that it would be.
They did it knowing it was going to be controversial.
See, I didn't realize that.
So like, and again, that's the thing is like,
well, then I guess the intent was a little bit kind of like,
well, and that's the thing, like the intent behind any kind of race swap is always going to be bad no matter what it's going to be. I understand where it's like, especially at the time, I'm 10. I didn't know what was wrong with it.
oh, information. That was my favorite part of showing in general.
It was just the transformation of seeing like a blank canvas turn to something it had nothing to do about like the race, the before and after. That was fascinating about it. It's the same reason with like the makeover episodes. But again, when you realize like everything is manufactured to be ill intent and just wrong, like black race and all that stuff is wrong anyway. And then it's like to know like they're also putting these girls in situations that are also harmful, like that it could bring. I think
also too that
do it
that if that was like the only controversial thing in the entire show, I'm not to deny that it's obviously controversial, but like I think it was just one layer on top of another layer of like the way that these girls had to just go through so much.
Well, the basis of like the gist of both documentaries from like all the contestants, what the agreed upon thing is like they would do these tests to see either how good they were on TV to keep them or how much they would put up with. Like, like episodes where like they didn't want to like pose nude, they're gone.
Yes.
You know, like,
Or the one episode, forgive me for not remembering her name, Danny maybe? Which one was the one that was like dancing with the guy and he was like grunting on her?
so so Kenya,
Kenya.
so Kenya, who is in it a lot, and we'll speak about her. We can speak about her now, but like Kenya, yeah, exactly.
It's like you said, it's like what they're willing to put up with. They're like the girl whose mom shot paralyzed, like gave her specifically the photo shoot to be a gunshot victim, and like that to me was also very weird.
So I do.
The crime scene aspect of it could have been cool, but
So since we were talking about like Kenya, so I think now I want to talk about specific points.
gonna do some specific
So
topics.
Kenya. So if you don't remember, Kenya is from season 4, and she's featured in both documentaries. And that was something like even before these documentaries that I watched, I was like, that's dead wrong. That's dead wrong. That essay, and she spoke up for herself, and she's 19. I know, like, when you watch these shows, I don't know why they might like look older, maybe because they're models, they're taller, like, they're in glam. But a lot of these girls were teenagers or like young women, and a lot of young women that are on book nowhere a lot of the times, like they're like
Small town.
they're small towns,
They have a lot to offer.
or just like they just don't have, they're naive. And I feel like that was also like, they said this about like Shandy, like, they all come from Dairy Queen and Walgreens, like, and I feel like I feel like that was also a big point. Like, again, going back to like Ebony, she's from New York. She knew it was up. Like, she knew, like, I better shut up and take it. Like, when they talk shit about my beautiful skin, I'm going to take it. Or the thing I want to say real quick about Tiffany is like, it's so fucked up when you watch it, because after she has that screaming match, Tiffany has to like almost basically say like, oh, Tyra cares about me. And even then it's like, that's so fake.
Yeah.
Like you got berated in front of people and gaslit, and like, she would say things like, always, everything, every day is a new humiliation. And I think that's really what Tyra got pissed. Because I used to watch that and be like, oh, like, Tyra was rooting for her. And I think she was, but I think like she didn't like that Tiffany wasn't playing the game. And
I think that's part of what it was, is like Tyra probably played the game, and when now that she's like the table her turn and she has the opportunity, she's like, well, you're not working hard enough because you're not doing what it takes, because Tyra didn't have the balls to like stand up for herself and did things she probably didn't want to do, and now there's girls that are like, no, I don't want to do that. You don't have what it takes.
And that's exactly what like the documentary was like hinting at, was like, it seems like there's a lot of like self-reporting on like the girls, like, because if you don't know, Tyra, very, very thin model in the early 90s, she was doing like couture runway. And then once she started getting a fuller figure, that's when she has talked about this on the show, that she had to transform her career and pivot to like more, Victoria's Secret and Sports Illustrated, and doing more like personality things, because she herself was 20 pounds, and this is in her own words, 20 pounds heavier than all the other girls. So she, as a Black woman, as a fuller figure woman, quote unquote, she experienced those same criticisms. And I do think she started the show with
good intention.
Good, I really do. And even she's like, I want my revenge, which is like never good to go into anything with revenge. I do think that she had soft spots, and I do think she wanted to do something. And that's why like I like seasons 1 through 3, because I do feel like there was a little bit of more earnest. But then it went out of control. But anyway, so with Kenya, like, that always like pissed me off, because she respectfully, stopped the shoot, and she got berated. And I think that so she went home, if I remember. And it's like, you didn't roll with the punches, so. And it's like, this is a fake shoot. Like, not that it like would justify it if it was a real shoot, but it was a fake shoot. They hired this model. They should have. And this is again like going to like we're going to talk about Shandy, but like, you manufactured all these situations, and maybe in the real world where they're not controlling it, you can maybe have a different discussion. But in this specific shoot, which is all manufactured by ANTM, and they hired the model, they had every right to get the model off the set.
Well, that's exactly right. It's like, well, why didn't we, like, okay, this is just a TV show. What are we comfortable? What are fun? It's not real life. I mean, I know they were really working towards like a goal, like a prize or whatever, but it's like, it's not like it's like we can't find anybody on short notice. We have a deadline. This photo shoot has to go out. Like, deal with it. It's like,
I hate using this word, but this is the word they used in the documentary, so forgive me. But like, she had such like a repulsiveness towards anything that would be considered ghetto.
Mhm.
And so she would like, going back to Danielle when she had to close her gap. It's like, oh, so a black woman from the South who has a gap, is country bumpkin and looks less than, but like a white girl with a gap, all of a sudden she has the London look. Like I felt like gaps were very like fashionable.
And I always felt like whenever like there was like the white girls, it was almost like the more alien, freaky looking, the better. But then like the black girls had to be like striking beautiful, otherwise they wouldn't.
Find Tyra.
Yeah,
Like how many of them like in season one, like Cassie look very much like her?
yeah. So it's almost like
Or
it's weird how.
contemporaries, because like Tiffany kind of looked a little like Naomi.
Mhm.
Like it's like she only knew like two versions of like
Model. And that's the thing too, is like I felt like I kind of became very aware of what was like considered Model S because Grace and I are famously known for not being photogenic because like I in any given scenario would much rather be better looking in person than in a photo because I think that obviously matters more. I'd rather be like, oh my gosh, she's so much prettier online, or I'd rather it be, oh, like, whatever. It's a bad photo or a bad angle. And then they see you in person. They're like, oh, she's really pretty or whatever. Anyways, all that to say is I feel like I would try so hard to like recreate these photos and it would never come out the same. But then when you saw the girl in person, she was always kind of like,
she still looked the same.
they just were very, basically what it is they would just look different in person. Like they just didn't look as.
They look just like how we would look in person, but it's like, why do, for me, it was like they look, so why was my photos looking so bad when
There's our features don't photograph well. Like I personally have a rounder face, so whenever I take a photo, it makes my face look wider. I don't have like a jawline hardly, and
Chloe,
what
look what ANTM did to us.
exactly? I'm very aware of my features, so that's what I'm saying.
And to tail off that in terms of like America's Next Top Model, I want to get back to like specific instances, but I'm sorry we're all over the place. This like topic, like I swear I could talk about forever, and maybe like one day in the future. But like I feel like I need like episodes like specific on each cycle because I like again I know that show like the back of my hand, especially those first few seasons. But like for example, I really feel like, and they touched on both documentaries about like talking about like girls developing like eating disorders, and that's so true because like I feel like I never personally experienced like an actual like eating disorder, but definitely I would have to say like some sort of like body dysmorphia, and I feel like a lot of people struggle with that in general, but like obviously a show like that and you see these girls who you look at and you're like, I want a body. So I think like I really want to make sure there's a point we talk about like Shandy's story because I could think out of all the bombshells, that was the one that like really got to me the most because everything else everyone touched upon, I feel like I already knew it was bad. Like I didn't need like the body shame, like the body shaming, the framing of stuff, the sexual like harassment, this and that. Like I feel like that was already pretty evident. But when Shandy is like, I kind of am mad at myself for like kind of not for being fooled. I will say like we're gonna briefly talk about Shandy's story. So if you don't want to hear about like what happened, which is like sexual assault, then skip forward. But basically, Shandy and the other girls from season 2 were in Milan. They drank a lot, and the show shows it as her cheating on her boyfriend. And what made me, I wrote it down so like I don't get tongue tied, but essentially the show literally called the episode "The Girl Who Cheated," and I just think it is just so nasty because the show really. Okay, let me just read.
What did it have to do with her? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you like make the whole episode about?
Because they did that with every episode. If you like look at the episode titles, it's always like
Whatever that
the girl that
is.
the girl that had the lion walk, or the girl who sleeps with the teddy. Like it'd always be like kind of like named after a girl, like a wacky thing that happened in the show. So I just wanted to read this. I posted this on like my Instagram stories. So Anyone who knows me knows America's Next Top Model is my comfort show. It has inspired my love of fashion, creativity, photography, etc. Also body issues, but you can acknowledge that something you once enjoyed was fucked in a lot of areas. And it disgusts me about the discourse online in the year 2026 about Shandy's assault. If you rewatch the episode, you know something seriously is wrong and how disturbing it is to watch Shandy saying she wants to die, her in a fetal position, and weeping after being called a stupid bitch online or on broadcast TV. And like that's the thing is like even if you like didn't know what had happened, like the way she's so devastated and like just the way she looks is so it's hard to watch without even with just thinking she cheated. It's a really hard watch. And it's like the way the show framed her as a cheating woman by earlier highlighting her being flirted with at a club and her getting close to the members of the Wu-Tang Clan. And that's the thing is like even episodes before, because obviously they this is all edited later after the fact. So like they really set it up that she is this flirtatious woman. Like there's a child and nobody's talked about this. That's why I'm like, me as a fan needs to talk about this. Like they showed her episodes where they would go to like all the girls would go to the club and how like guys were hitting on her and she was really flattered. Like even though she said no, but like
Because she never really got attention before. Well, and even if she was flattered, flattery is not a
but I
crime.
think it's there and that's the thing, it's not a crime. But like if you add all these instances and then like
But they're painting a picture with
they're painting a picture and then like there's another challenge that they win and they get to hang out with the members of the I forget which members, but they hung out with like Wu-Tang Clan and she was like sitting on one of the members' laps. I mean, no, unfortunately because of the show, like she really didn't have a good loving home. So this is like again naivety. So like but they painted episodes way higher than this one episode of her like something's gonna happen. Like she keeps inching closer to being this cheating woman.
That's on editing.
And that's on editing, which apparently Tyra Banks has no, control over. So they episode showed her getting close to the members of the Wu-Tang Clan. And even right before everything happened, it showed her getting upset with her boyfriend because he went to a movie with a friend that was a girl. And so again, in hindsight, editing was building a certain narrative already that like she was so pissed at her boyfriend, like she would do anything, like, like fuck up.
We wanted to get revenge. We were
Wanting to get revenge. And, as Shandy recounts the story in this documentary, saying how after it happened, she didn't care about winning anymore. And that was obvious as they show her personality shifted to someone who was once eager, determined, to apathetic, emotionally drained despite winning challenges and making top three and being both a fan and industry favorite. Like, as she's like telling the story and then they're showing the clips, like, oh, that makes sense because it didn't seem like someone who just cheated because she already talked to her boyfriend about it. They were seemingly going to like make up. It was deeper than that. And the thing with like sexual assault and things like that, like sometimes you don't realize how bad it is or how much it affects you till sometimes years later. Like
look at car accidents, like, and they always say like make sure you get checked right away because it's like you could have a car accident and then later down the line you could have like stuff unresolved from it.
Yeah,
that
like
you didn't even realize. That's like more physical, but mental is so much
exactly. Like I'm like her response to waking up the next morning knowing something happened, saying she wants to die. That's deeper than just like, I fucked up. Like I'm so mad at myself. Like I can't believe I've done this. It was like I literally
feel worthless.
I feel worthless.
Anytime anyone says they want to die is if they feel truly worthless, and and
like and
we've all said it being dramatic, but like this was obviously different.
And like the way she's like, I still think of like how she's hunched over, wanting to die. Like again, so it disturbs me to know and that the conversation was that she needs to take responsibility for drinking too much. Newsflash: it isn't a crime to be piss drunk in your own home, no less. Like I'm so sick of like people saying like she's drunk and she cheated. It's like it's a crime. It's not a crime to be drunk. It's a crime to assault someone who's non-consenting. And even when Shandy recounts the story, her question is more on production. Like, why did they not step in and stop her? Like, like
or stop the guy.
Like, a lot of people A lot.
Where were the other girls in the house? Like, why was her daughter no one have her back? Like,
And the
you'd think that a close knit group of girls. I mean, of course, it's a competition show, but it's also like, where was the girls being like? There's got to be at least one girl who's got some wherewithal to be like, something doesn't seem right. Like,
and they
got a boyfriend. I know she would hate like, and I don't obviously I don't think she cheated because she wanted to like hook up with this guy. She was clearly under the influence, and the guy took advantage of her. And then now they're painting it as just like regular schmegular cheating.
well, and ultimately, someone like, and I will say, like, some of the girl, and I'm not even gonna really put it on the girls because clearly, from like what they're talking about, like these girls were like not fed well. They're under high stress. They're probably all like, blitzed themselves, like, and they're just kind of, like, I'm not even gonna put it on the girls because they were drinking too. But production, like, just think of like shows like Jersey Shore or like any kind of reality show when people get in a fight they jump in, production jumps in and stops it. But, and why? Because it's a crime, it's violent, it's this and that, it's not good. So why wouldn't they do that when this is happening? Like, if they,
What a stupid rule of like, well, it happened in the bathroom and we're not allowed to go in the bathroom. It's like,
stop.
okay, what if he stopped her in the bathroom? What if he had a gun and held it to her head in the bathroom? It's like, just because the crime wasn't violent, I mean, obviously you definitely consider sexual abuse violence because you're usually being, it's usually more like severe, but it's like, why was there different parameters? It's almost like they just wanted the storyline, like they just did whatever. They didn't care what the damaging effects it would have on that girl.
And then at the end of the day, like, they don't deny it. Like, when I see people talk about Shandy's story and like it's like Facebook, Instagram, whatever comments, one, I don't even think they watched the documentary, the show, or anything. They're just going off like headlines, and it's like, as Shandy's talking about this, she's not, I don't want to say putting blame on the guy. She's literally just saying, like, why didn't production stop it? Like if they really wanted that, like, gotcha drama moment of, like, him kissing her, fine, like, whatever. But, like,
What would have almost been enough?
that would have been enough to, like, stop it and say, like, okay, like, they're starting to kiss. Like, we need to stop it. So it's just, like, why would, let it go further? And the thing is, Ken Mom, who's in the documentary, the first one, he doesn't deny it. So I don't know why everyone in the comments is like, she drank too much, she needs to take responsibility for herself. It's like, no, like
Just reading the headline. Right there, watch the show, like you said.
He admitted, Ken Mock admitted, like, we actually filmed more. We didn't show it because, we had to censor some of it. But like,
or even the poor recording her, calling her boyfriend, and they told her like afterwards, like, oh, I'm so sorry we had to do that. Like, it's almost like everyone consensus it was wrong, but no one stopped it.
Even at the time, everyone knew something was wrong.
And again, those production people are probably no better than the contestants. You got a job on, America's Next Top Model. You don't want to challenge Tyra or the producers. Like, you're just like, I'm just the camera guy.
Yeah.
Told me to come shoot you. Yeah. And at least they had some sort of sympathy or empathy for her to be like,
and that's all she was like, just wondering. And then like to like, when Tyra is asked about it, it's just very like,
oh no. Actually, out of all of it, what grossed me out the most was when she brought them all on her show.
Oh,
a year or so later, maybe more, and she played it, and she's like, "Why would you watch it, girl? Are you uncomfortable?" No shit. I just cannot stand Tyra.
Even if it was just like a cheating scandal, it's like, you're humiliating.
Yeah. What did that matter? Like, the show, like, you should have been talking about the girls, the experience, like, why? Like, that just goes to show they were exploiting her for a reason, because they did it again. They're like, oh, not enough to do it one time, we're gonna do it again when she's like, she could have been, I mean, she probably wasn't, but she could have been on her healing journey. She could be getting therapy. She could have been working.
And again, a lot of people always like say, well, why did she show up on the show again? Why? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like,
what is she supposed to do?
What is she supposed to do? Or maybe like, apparently when she was back on the show, like on Tyra's show, when she showed that clip, apparently she hadn't said, I don't want anything. I don't want to see that clip again. I don't want any, like, I'll go on there. And again, these girls put their trust into Tyra and these productions.
Because that was part of that experience too. Like, why is she not allowed to talk about her experience, good or bad? But if she just explicitly said, like, I don't want to talk about that specific thing, like, it's already was broadcasted, everyone already knows. Like, let's just talk about, and maybe because you know how many times they bait switch people. You hear it all the time. Like, oh, don't worry, we won't talk about that. So, people want to know. You know what I mean? It's like,
and then you have to say something.
You have to say something, and it's like a gotcha moment. You know what I mean? That happens all the time. You hear about it all the time.
Yeah. So like, I mean, ultimately, I mean, I feel like I could talk about this forever, and maybe in like in a different kind of circumstance, I'll talk about it more. I just feel like the show, I feel like it is unfair to look at the show and put all the blame on Tyra 100%. Like we have other producers and other people willing to be villains as well. I think what like I guess is good about like the documentary, at least the Netflix one that came out. When Tyra first was getting backlash about this show, like in the 2020s, you know, when everyone was like, oh, that was wrong, that was wrong. I think she made like a Twitter apology. And from that, I'm like, oh, well, you know, she recognizes she was wrong, this, and that. And it could have been like that. So I really was thinking like she was going to come on this documentary and really lay it out that would, especially because she wanted to come on with another cycle. I think it would have done her some good to take some humility and be like, it was wrong. Like, and not like being like, boo boo, I'm so sorry. It's like, you condescending bitch. Like, it made you look so bad. I was giving you the benefit of the doubt. You said you were sorry, this and that, but this show showed your true colors. It showed Ken Mock's true colors. It showed the world of reality TV's true colors. And it was kind of like, it's not like what you said, it was between the lines. It's what you didn't say.
Mm-hmm.
That really showed like, you are fake. You did everything these girls are saying you did do
And
because
like I feel like reality TV and just everything back then, it was like, well, we can keep it between us. So like no one's gonna know because now with the internet and people exposing people, it all started with like the Me Too movement, right? Where like people were finally coming out feeling comfortable and then it catapulted to other avenues. But it's one of those things that like I think people operated in the gray area a lot because they knew they could get away with it. And they're like, oh, no one's ever going to come back. And it's been 20 years. It's almost like, what was that? The Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer, where it's like, oh, he thought he was probably never going to get caught. Meanwhile, at 70 or 80, he finally goes to jail for his crime. So it's like, just because time has passed doesn't mean that, you know, it's not going to come to light.
Tyra could have just
Always a reveal.
and you know like people like Jay Manuel, Miss J, who also weren't very nice on the show. Of course, they didn't have as much pull and you know control as Tyra, but they weren't very nice either at a lot of times. And they came out of this situation. They came out of this situation looking a lot better, especially Miss J, who basically just said like, "Yeah, I said that stuff. You know, it was what it was." If Tyra would have just said something similar, if Tyra would have said something like similar, um, if Tyra would have said something just similar, like not just like it was a different time, be like, listen, but just like my goal from the very beginning was to change the industry. I knew the industry. I was a victim of the industry of being, you know, having racism towards me, about being competitive, about like certain things. So I knew the ugly parts of it, but I knew the beautiful parts about it. And I wanted to cultivate it and change it. And maybe
She could have changed it. She had enough power
but,
all the time.
but even if she didn't, even if it's just she's apologizing for what she did, she could read like, I got a little bit lost. I got lost in the sauce a bit. I saw how successful the show was. It excited me. I, you know, felt like
Lost the plot.
I lost the plot. And, you know, I can look back and say, like, whether she lying or not, but at least she could say something like, you know what, like, I see why certain things were wrong at the time, but, you know, I really wasn't trying to be wrong. It was wrong, but at the end of the day, like, I understand and look back and, you know, I fell victim to the very thing I was trying to change, or I felt I became the villain. That or why, like, but like
Yeah.
she did, like, I think she would have gotten so much out of it, and like, I think it would humility,
Yeah.
and she, you know, I feel like people would respect it, but no, she just had to be like on her high horse, double down, and
It's like
she doubled down. And it's like part of me, and like Adrienne Curry, the first cycle winner, I see her post all the time, and she's like, you know what, I respect her because she's a bitch. And she's not sorry. And it's like, yeah, you kind of want to give her like Tyra some props. Like, you know what? She isn't sorry. And that's the way it is. But like, I think if Tyra, I guess that's the thing. She's not sorry.
she must not be because
She clearly, her acting career didn't go very far. So she couldn't act like she was.
I was gonna say at the very least you can pretend like you're sorry. I mean, how many times have we seen YouTubers in their gray hoodies like, you know, apologizing, you know, with their, you know, 25-minute long videos, but there's a lot of people that I feel like are, you know, because she's clearly very PR trained and she's trying to these toys and stuff like that. So it's almost like, I wonder why she chose to go that route, because she could have easily done like what you said, has been like, you know what, I just kind of lost the plot. I just got nails in my head. I wanted to keep it entertaining. I wanted to keep it going. I was, like you said, lost in it all. I would have respected her a lot more than seeing like, oh, this is a different time. To me, it seems like it's very obvious that she wanted to kind of almost not punish the girls, but like it's like she wanted to give them the experience that she had, but she also wanted it to be like control it, where it's like, well, I had to do these things. Why shouldn't you have to do these things? It's like, well, and like you said you were trying to break the barriers and the mold of what it is, and you're doing the exact thing you said you didn't want to do.
Well, and also like in the documentary we had Janice Dickinson, who was like, I was told to be the Simon Cowell. I was told this, I was told that. And it's like, yes. And like she's like, well, the reason why they want to need to be there, that person was so tired and always look like the hero. And I could agree that like there was many times where like,
Janice was out of line.
Was out of line, and Ty would say something to her, or like give her a look, or be like, this and that. So I will agree that like that probably was propped up. But Janice, you said that shit, and you said that with your whole chest, your whole face silicone chest. And I mean, I applaud you, for saying that like I was a bitch. But the thing is like I feel like you're trying to save face and be like, they told me to do it, okay? But you said it with your whole chest. You said it while laughing. You said very.
She comes off as someone who's very.
You said such
jealous of the new.
Well,
beautiful women.
But that's why like she's still, even in this documentary, she had a coin like, I'm to marry her supermodel. It's like great, but like you said stuff that not only hurt the contestants, but like were very hurtful to viewers. Like
I feel like I've looked up the very first supermodel, and she's not who comes up. So it's like, where does she get that from? Is it like a specific lane that she's referring to?
I
didn't one of the first.
But I don't know, but like ultimately, it's like. And I do know Janice has always spoke negatively about the show, and for me, it feels just like she knew she looked bad, and so she's trying to. But it's just like, I guess like at one hand, it's like Janice is a bitch, and she knows she's a bitch, so at least like who she is, and she's not hiding it. Whereas like Tyra was like, you thought she was a nice girl, but she was actually a bitch too. So it's kind of like, oh, which do you want? But like, I'm sorry, like. I was told to be silent.
She was like vicious though. I mean, the things that she said were like, she had to pull that from like the deep layers of hell.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It wasn't like she said, "Oh, honey, you need to lose a few pounds," or she didn't say things with grace. She was vulgar. She was nasty. She was just like. I remember even as a kid thinking, "Wow, this woman is so vile." Like she was never like Simon Cowell was a dick, but. He was never, he would just say like, oh, you sound like terrible, or whatever. Like he was just kind of like blunt, almost like Gordon Ramsay. They're blunt and they say things, but it always kind of came with a little bit of humor in a way, especially like Gordon Ramsay, like the egg sandwich or just stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like with Janice, it was like, I forget the specific, it was one of the scenes in the episode where she's going on and on and on about, I think it was the grilled cheese or the bagel or whatever.
Or like you have a gut, suck it in. At the end of the day, it's the difference between constructive criticism that you might not want to hear, but you have to because you are in that industry, versus you're just mean. Like, why don't they telling like a black she
I've always thought
she had like Kelly like from season 3 like doing like you look like a Hitchcock film, and like going through her photos was like saying how scary she was. Like, why are you saying that about a black woman? Or like talking about like Takara, saying like, oh, I love Takara. Talking about Takara being like, you'll be the first plus size woman to win this, and then talking about she's too big for the industry. Like it's just the difference between being constructive and then being mean. And I'm sorry, like having her like talk about this stuff, like she was also like putting her in the same vein as like the victims, like get out of here. So anyway, so I mean, I feel like there's so much more we can touch on, but I think like maybe we'll come talk about this about another day, or
another documentary,
or maybe like do it cycle by cycle, because I feel like in each cycle there's specific things that just weren't touched upon that I feel like are valuable. My dog's going a little crazy. I don't know if you can hear that, but Other than that, I think did we want to talk about our favorite things this week? So what I am loving this week, so at work I got to choose the playlist, and so it was like a beautiful, like it was a Friday, and I don't know, like with the weather, how nice it's been, like a spring day. I really wanted like kind of like coffee house vibes, like 90s, like Sade, Goody Blowfish, kind of vibe. So, um, I was playing it, everyone was loving my playlist, and then I was like, this is the vibe I want to give off. So in like our group chat, I sent what is it, Global Village Coffee House. If you know that aesthetic, so that is like my favorite. Panera Bread, Barney's, like Starbucks coffee.
It's very like 90s coffee shop vibes. Everything kind of had like swirls to it. Like everything, nothing with or like weird geometric, looking browns, deep reds, deep blues.
Yeah, so my favorite thing this week is just like that vibe of like coffee house.
I know when you walked in, I had like my TV like
playing jazz.
Yeah, it plays like it's almost like it's not a frame TV, but when frame TVs like I guess go idle, they play artwork. I think it's actually playing right now. It does like scenes, and then it'll do like lo-fi jazz, which is always a vibe in my opinion.
Yeah, so that's what I'm loving this week.
That you're loving. I will say,
kind of goes with the espresso martini.
It does. One thing I'm loving, and so Grace knows this about me, when I hyperfixate on something, I go all in. And I got influenced by this body wash brand. It's like stupid expensive for what it is, but I'm being pregnant. One thing I'm like really indulging in is anything self-care. I think we touched on this last time. I love anything cozy. I love anything that just like makes me feel good.
And Chloe Tam.
And so I've been really into like as an esthetician, which is something you may not know about me. I really, I'm big on skincare products for my face and stuff, but I've always hated body lotion. I hated the idea of it. Our mom is like lotion queen. I feel like I hate
lotion specifically.
One thing I hate is when it does. This is my take a hike, if you will, but or peek in our pits. I hate when you put lotion on and it doesn't like go in all the way. Like I hate when it just like it like, okay, I have like a freaking amount of lotion, but it only spread here. Then I got to get more. I don't know what that is about. Maybe it's quality. But anyways, there's a brand called Sidecar, and they're kind of all over Instagram and whatnot.
They're not sponsored.
Not sponsored. But you can. And somebody had mentioned there's like a brand. So I started with the body wash because we were running low anyway. And it was on Amazon, next day Prime. Why the heck not? And it smells so good. And so just now I got the body lotion and the they have like a roll-on perfume, and it just smells like I'm really into fragrances that are like clean, fresh, almost like you just took a shower, but also a little masculine. So I love like cologne. Like I love anything that's like kind of cologne-y that smells like anything that's kind of got like a sea salt or yeah, like just kind of like a musk something. Well, musk is a little bit more powdery, I feel, but I like something that smells like clean and fresh, like you just got out of the shower, but also your husband could wear it too.
After shading.
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like that. Kind of feels like a spa. Kind of has like an essential oil vibe to it. But anyways, I'm obsessed. So that's definitely something I've been loving. And once I like something, just like shirts, if I like a shirt, I'll buy 5 colors. Grace was with me at Target the other day. I was like, oh, I already have that color, because I was trying to find PJs. Because again,
that was last week.
Because they're
favorite of yours. So
my PJs.
Yeah. So yeah,
very on brand.
So what do you hate?
These nails. So I'm trying to go more natural with, because I was getting my nails done every 2 weeks, and I just didn't want to be a slave to it anymore. I had a liquid gel on my nails for the better part of 4 years, and I loved it. But I don't know, with being pregnant, there's just something about where you just like don't want to like worry about things, especially when you have a baby. I still have quite a bit of time, so it's a little premature. But I figured, I'll be on my prenatals and I'll be, taking vitamins. So that's a good time to get them nice and strong. Whereas like afterwards, it just won't happen. So yeah, these nubby ass nails that make me feel like a little boy. They're like in their growing out phase too. So they're all ridged up and you can see like the lines where they were drilling and they just started healing a lot. And so, yeah, these nasty ass nails.
I'm trying to be a very positive person and not look at the hateful stuff. However,
However, I got some things to say.
however, what I do hate is I thought about this last week about traffic, but this is another traffic related thing. So I hate when like there's like a sign to like move over, so like 2 lanes, and then there's like the big neon sign saying like merge over and merge over.
Because construction, an accident.
There's a construction. So what I hate is like it's a big sign, like you can see it from like far away, and like if everyone just like peacefully moved over, like it would reduce some of that traffic. But the problem is that I'm sorry, am I not interesting enough? So like I hate when like people like wait to the like they go all the way to the front to where like the sign is, and they like bottleneck the whole thing, because that's like what like causes like the longer traffic. Like I understand in like certain circumstances like you can't see the sign until it's too late, then like that's fine. But like they like just drive up ahead like an asshole and just wait there and want to get over. It's like no, not on my watch, buddy. Like you're not getting over. And then they'll do that thing where they're moving over anywhere where you have no choice.
Yeah.
So like I just hate that like bottleneck. So what I do is when I see that, I move my car to the center. So like I'm literally on the line. That way no one can get in front of me. And they know, well, not on my watch, buddy. And like, sometimes they honk at me. I'm like, back to the line, back of the line. I mean, like,
wait your turn.
But like people appreciate that, because sometimes when I do that, like the leader I am, sometimes when I do that, the car behind me will also do that to be like, okay, I see what this person is doing. So like people don't fucking bottleneck it. That is my hate, is like when people do that bottlenecking, it causes more traffic, because it's like if everyone was just single file. And it's such a short, like, little construction area, too, in this case. Like, if everyone just, like, moved over and just went, like, what takes time is, like, letting all these people in, because, like, they're bottlenecking it versus just, like, whatever. So I go in the straight line and follow the rules. I follow the rules and, get to the back, Jack. That's what I say. So
that's what I always say.
That's what I always say.
But I hate people that also, like, are momos. Like, in one avenue, I hate the people that just think they rule the road and do stuff like that. But also, like, sometimes you just gotta like get in there, because people just be like, what's going on? And
so with that being said, I think we should
close out.
So thank you again for making it to the end of this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more. I hope this episode was a little bit more enjoyable and more basically setting the tone of like
just things we want to talk about. We're going to be very loose, very just, I don't want to say rambling, but just kind of like
just our thoughts and
our thoughts about a specific topic.
So all of our socials and all those things will be also in the description. So leave a like, leave a comment. If you didn't make it this far, leave is there an espresso martini emoji?
Or coffee beans.
You know what? Anything coffee related, whether you type coffee, whether it's a coffee bean emoji, whether it's
coffee mug
emoji, leave that in the comments if you made it this far, and we'll like it and say hi.
Yep.
So anyway,
thanks for joining us.
Cheers.